Hi, my name's Todd, Barton. Thanks all for coming here, and thank you, Darren and Jonas and Joe over there, whose easel this is. This would not be possible without Joe. And the thing about, well, too many lights blinking. Make it stop. Just my background. For 40 years, I was a composer for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, so wrote incidental music for plays. That's my background. I'm a composer, not a technical person. I will not be able to answer questions about voltages or stuff like that. But my approach to the easel is just trying to find as many different ways to use it as a performance tool, a performance instrument actually, and also to use it in the studio. So, and this is the first time I've played this easel. Got it about an hour ago from Joe. And so this is sort of fun. I've never played anybody else's easel. You know, I just sit in my cave in Oregon, rural Oregon, and so this is, but the nice thing about the easel is it's the same footprint and everything. You know, I mean, it'd be a different story if I was going to wanting to play my Euro rack setup, which would be all my modules. I know you guys could put it together, but and I'm not here to necessarily even advocate for the easel at all. It's just where I come from, and I know I'm in Euro rack land, which I'm spending more and more time in myself and loving it. But I thought I'd just share with you some of my learnings about this instrument, and then sort of move into a performance. And the other morning I woke up and went, oh, okay, I've never done this. My performance is actually going to be, I will tell you what I'm going to do and do it. And I'll be putting together a whole piece, and hopefully I will be explaining my compositional process as I go along, and hopefully that might be of some use to some of you. Okay, so it's like, this is what I'm doing, and now I think I need to go here, and this is why. And so it's going to be a performance with commentary. I don't think you get too many of those. I haven't seen one. So I hope it's of use. The beauty about the music easel, which actually Morton Subotnick says it was his term when he talked to Don Buchla in the 60s at San Francisco Tape Center. He told Don he wanted an easel, and what he meant by the easel was what became the Buchla 100, which was this big, huge modular system. And Mort thought of the easel as only a studio instrument to create recordings with, not as a performance instrument. And, 8 years later or so, 1972, 74, is when Don designed and put out the easel that we know as the easel. And what I love about the idea of an easel is an easel you can put a canvas on and you can paint any style. For me, what you're going to get is sort of abstract expressionism from Kandinsky to Jackson Pollock. What I love about Alessandro Cortini or Caitlin Aurelia Smith is their sort of Rothko to Monet, Charles Cohen's sort of Andy Warhol and Barnett. Can't remember his last name. Anyway, yeah, Barnett Newman. There's some whimsical things going on for my perception of Charles and stuff. So we all bring our own aesthetic to the table. And the beauty of the easel, too, is you don't need to patch anything to get sound out of it. Because there's all these sliders. Sliders are good. I love sliders. Okay. In fact, you're all welcome to come in here. First, I'm just going to do some, demonstration of some of this, the nitty-gritty of this. So if you all want to come down, feel free. The essence of this is this little patch matrix, okay? And just to orient you, all the black jacks, banana jacks, are inputs, and all the colored jacks are outputs. Okay, so when I first looked at, first time I ever did this, a friend of mine, Doug Levy, gave me one for a weekend, put me upstairs in his attic, and I didn't come out for 3 days and didn't sleep for 3 days. And back in 76, there was no manual, and so it took me 8 hours to even figure out what was going on to even get a sound. And you look at it and you're going, yikes, this is crazy. But once you understand black is input and everything else is output, that helps filter out the matrix a lot. And each thing is paired, so I have a pair of sliders here, and the one that's attached to the black output will do nothing until it gets a control voltage. The one without a little arrow and a black is like a volume. And there are 3 different. So I have 2 oscillators that are linked to this. The mod oscillator comes out of these 2, and the principal oscillator comes out of these 2. Okay, I can cross modulate. There. Okay. And I have 3 different positions here. One is VCA, which, as you can see, my finger, as I'm moving that, it is tracking it very nicely. In the upper mode, it's a, let's see if we can, it's a low-pass filter. There you can start to hear the wow. And in the middle is a combination of gate, or VCA, and so you get, can you hear it sort of rings? Okay. And you can do very simple things by, I'm engaging a pulsar, and I'm going to have it pulse an envelope. And now by just and of course in Buchla land, the one thing Don did back in the 60s, or in the 70s, was create additive synthesis oscillators with wave folding. And wave folding is people say there are no filters on there's not heavy-duty filters on Buchla stuff. I mean, there's a 291, and this is not filtering, but boy, sure, it gives a similar feel to it. And what's happening, are we all hip to wave folding? Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful to watch. Yeah, you take that sine wave and it just goes like this. And so you got that. And you can also that's happening there. If I take, this is just an envelope going to that. I can take that same envelope and just with another, now I'm sending control voltage to the timbre, to the wave folding, and it just changes it dramatically. I can just flip this. And now I'm using random instead of the envelope generator. Now I can use the pulsar. So you have all these different timbral things right with just shifting this. Also, the envelope generator can go into trigger mode or cycle mode. So while I'm having the pulsar do it's doing that. Now by taking the envelope generator and going to timbre. And once again, I'm just using 2 connections there. Another way before let's take that out. This is sort of my favorite thing. I know it's low-pass gate takes care of, it's a gate, it's like a VCA, so it works on articulation. In low-pass mode, it's also doing some filtering, and the more you engage it, the more you get a longer sound. So this is very short staccato sound. And as I move the slider, we get filtering and longer sounds, which of course you can do with any synthesizer. But what I like about it is I'm just moving. I've made one connection and I'm just moving one slider, and all of that's happening. Okay. Modulation oscillator is in tune, if you will. And what I'm using as a pulsar is now doing this sample, or random. Another thing besides pulsar, or there's the envelope now, which is this long sweepy thing. I can also, since the pulsar is bapping out random source, use that now for articulation. Combining the random and the envelope, so we get a little more articulation. So I just took the random to pitch. And this, everything you see over here in the low-pass gate is like a mixer also. So one thing I like is I can bring up something. I can get lots of different articulations at my fingertips without having to patch or change anything. This all making sense? Okay. Questions, by the way. I'm always open to questions. Who has easels here? I know I'm in sort of your room. Cool. Okay, so, but you don't have to have an easel to ask a question. Yeah.
What happens when you take in Euro they might not recommend it, but if you take a stack cable on top of another stack cable in a new input, does it combine it in some way, or is
Yeah, that's what I just did right here, actually. I took the envelope.
Okay.
Here's the envelope.
And how does it take priority? Is it just you just kind of listen and it's just?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it would technically be the highest.
It's just
The highest voltage at a given
max.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, good. More questions? Okay. Trying to think. It has an onboard sequencer. Oh, that's the other way of just dealing. With, I really encourage easel owners to try everything into the low-pass gate. We all grew up on sort of linear East Coast thinking, oscillator, filter, amplifier, and then some LFOs shooting off into that. In the Buchla paradigm, at least the way I've started to interpret it, especially in the larger systems, is that the center of the system is this oscillator that has wave additive synthesis, it has LFO, and then the low pass gate is filtering and articulation. Those two things, and you send gazillions of CVs at them. So it's more of this circular thing and sending CVs in. So I encourage that. We listen to the envelope generator, now the pulsar. That has a completely different thing. And then we listen to random. You can also take the sequencer, which is over here. It's a 5-stage sequencer. Who knows why 5? Probably there's 5 digits. No, I don't know. But you can use that. Of course, you can patch that in also, because everything is stackable bananas. I'm patching that in the timbre. I can also overkill. So now I have modulation, camera, everything's. And what I'm using here, these are preset pads. Right now they're just designed. They're in the switches and the modes so that they're just doing octaves. But you can actually preset those to different, pitch intervals, if you will. Alessandro does that a lot. Uses those pads to have a really beautiful sequence going, then take it up a minor third, and then take it up and down and around. So you'll see him using these pads a lot. Right now, so just another arrow in the quiver of things to play with. Questions, thoughts, ideas? Okay. Well, I think what I'm going to do is sort of put together a piece here. Sort of one long abstract expressionist improv, if you will, talking as I go. The only other things that I'm going, there's reverb here. Let's,
can you modify the values coming out of the sequencer at all?
These?
Yeah, like any kind of transposition or kind of voltage mangling?
You can through the card. Is that, I think if I, in other words, not just these.
So they weren't just fixed.
Yeah.
You could have some movement in the sequence.
Yeah, you can do two things. One is you can come out of, and, that's right. I can come out of random. This is a sequencer, so it's just doing its 5 things over and over. Now I'm going to take a random voltage and stack it on top of this. As opposed to just random, which you hear has a much broader spectrum. This delimits that. That's the one thing, in easel land, the one thing the easel doesn't have is a white noise source, and it doesn't have an extra oscillator. One of the things you can do, the mod oscillator can frequency modulate or amplitude modulate the complex oscillator. But if you want balanced or ring modulation, you have to use an outside oscillator to ring mod or balance modulate the modulation oscillator. Don's brain, I'm sure, you can see him taking the Buchla 100 and the early 200 stuff, especially the dodeca module, which had most of this stuff without an oscillator. And he went, okay, how do I get a dodeca and an oscillator and throw in a sequencer? And so some things had to shift around. So no extra oscillator. However, there is an external source in to modify that. No white noise, easy enough. And the only other thing that I would love on this that is so big in the Buchla world is voltage processing. The only processing I have available to me is an inverter, which can take you a long way, but some of the things like the 256 and 257 can really do sweet, complex voltage shaping, and for me that's where it's at. So, yes, and then of course you can go in the card. My friend and I have made a card that allows you to like have like each time that hits, it's going to be random, and these are. So is that what you were asking?
Yeah, just if you could, whatever permutations you could put to the sequence.
Yeah, that's the quick answer. And don't drink water over your Buchla. Okay. So what I have going here is this is going out to a looper, which is the RC3. It's a single shot looper. It just makes one loop. And when I'm done, it's like, dang, I have to like go whap whap, and it just cuts out, as opposed to like other hipper loopers that can fade out or crossfade with other loops. So that's what's going on there, just so you know what my compositional tools are. I have a Strymon Blue Sky here, and that's it. Oh, and there's nice reverb spring reverb, built-in real springs in here. And you can actually use that as another volume source because it gets louder as you take it off. So it's just another thing to do. Okay. So sit back, relax, and I'll talk you through this improv. Other last minute questions? Okay. And we'll also, later I'm going to engage a card. Back in the original design, Don Buchla created these little printed circuits. And they mimic everything on the faceplate, plus some other ways you can get in there to actually randomize the attack and the decay, randomize the sequencer, select different stages, all sorts of goodies. And basically the resistors become patch cords and define the connections and the levels of the sliders. If that makes sense. Maybe I will pop this in right now because I'll be using it later. The nice thing about the program card is you don't have to have anything up or no connections. It's all taken care of here. What I loved in Alan Strange's manual for the easel, he and Don called these back in 1974 instrument definitions instead of presets. And I love that because, I think the word preset came around with the Korg M1 and the digital revolution in the mid-'80s. I don't think people thought of things as presets before. Analog synthesizer guys like me in the 70s were making patch sheets, and we call them a patch maybe, but Don and Alan Strange called them instrument definitions. I think it's a better, or from my mind, it's a broader way of thinking of it. It's an instrument that then you can play and manipulate and use, as opposed to a preset that you sit and scroll through until you find the one you like. It's more hands-on and creative. So this one is one I made a while back. And what it allows me to do is every time I touch a body capacitance plate, it gives me a completely new sound and a new response. Basically, I've randomized everything. All my little resistors go to everything possible. So. And for my new next miracle,
Is it the switch?
it doesn't have to, if it's in remote, it does read something, but I want it to read in both.
Okay.
Thank you, though. It was working earlier, so I know it works. That is wild. Well, this is... both. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Next note. So it gives me lots of stuff to respond to. Okay, and this is what I like in performances. Like, I prefer not knowing what's coming next. Listen to it and see where it goes. So follow the sound. So this card will be engaged at some point through the evening. Later we might look at this preset card, but there was some issue. Somehow my chi with this, we couldn't get this to stay on. So if we turn this off, we may never get it back on. And I can't put this in hot. This doesn't go in hot. It will blow up everything. This one can go in hot. Okay, let's see. So basically what I'm going to start up with is just some little pointillistic drip paintings, if you will. Let's see where it can go here. I'm going to be getting some amplitude modulation stuff going. Let's start. Okay. That was my sound check. Yep. Okay, gone. Here. So I've just looped that, and I really recommend in looping, as we all know, if you start out and if you used all your bandwidth, you're sunk, because the next loop, if you come in with full bandwidth, it's mush, dead in the water. So I recommend coming in either if you're going to do something that's really sustained or repetitive, that you choose your bandwidth carefully so you have someplace to go. Or in this case, I've chosen a lot of silence and little splashes of things so I can come back on this second round and fill them in. So that worked out nicely. And now I'm just adding a bunch of reverb to it because I know I'm about to kick this off. And if I kick it off, it's just going to cut off. And sometimes I like that. Other times I like to make the transition a little smoother. And now we're into something new. Which I can start looping again. saturated you enough with reverb so as now to hear something completely different. And the good flow of poppy sounds. Just playing the preset pads. About to loop it, you never know what you're going to get. Could be fun. Now I have the card in, so who knows what's happening next. There's an arpeggiator. It's helpful now and then. lot more, but I'm afraid I got busy. Questions, thoughts, ideas, comments?
I guess I'd like to see the card.
Oh yeah, we can give that a shot. And before there's the chance that this won't turn back on, but
Before the soldered card. No,
the soldered
the
card.
one you used.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the
Let's
sliders.
not touch the.
Oh, sorry, they're cold. So the sliders are the vertical.
The slide. These are the period. So this is the control voltage. So like the period would go to, like for instance, I have. What do we have here? We have pressure going to mod index.
Okay.
So the pressure. This resistor is like doing pressure to mod index. That's the resistor.
Is it only going so far up?
And what I'm doing is, when you do these cards, you want to, if you want live performance range capability, you want to have a resistor. This I think is 120K, so that you can have the full throw. If I put a higher resistor in there, it's the equivalent of moving this mod index up there, and then I only have that much of a throw. So this card takes advantage of everything's 120K, so that I have complete range from pressure. Does that answer?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you lower the resistor value on that, that kind of lowers the ceiling for what the attenuator would be at, essentially?
Yeah.
You can only go up to a certain amount.
You can only go up to a certain
Okay.
amount.
Yeah.
Edge of my knowledge. Yes. Other questions, comments?
This blue output here.
Yes.
What exactly does it do? I've only ever noticed the light coming on when you go onto the
This
floor.
one?
No, this one on the
Yeah.
right.
Output for the preset.
The output there could be used in a gazillion ways. This is he's asking about the blue CV output of the pressure pads, and so I could use them to send CV anywhere. And hello, Phillips screwdriver. Right now, without shoot. Okay, so there we go.
That's a rental.
It's set to octaves. If I set it to preset, then and that preset, what I use this preset to do is by setting, I perform pretty much always in quadraphonic, and so I send my monophonic sound to a buccal module called the 227, which is a quadraphonic mixer that takes mono sound and distributes it around in swirly patterns, and I can control the speed of that swirl and the placement with control voltages. So what I often do here is have a CV going out here, and this position will have the sound just going around like that, and then when I hit this, it goes, and then here, it's going like that, and so then I can play the pads and play the speed of the sweep. I can also use the sequencer and send those blue things out to the position. So I can get sweep and position randomness simultaneously. You can use it for anything. And then there's a blue, the mod oscillator, which lives here. Its actual CV outputs up here and is also blue. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. So this basically outputs whatever you have on the particular selected stage in the preset. Got it.
Perfect. Yeah.
As a composer, what do you appreciate most about the easel?
I can spin on a dime. And that's probably just because I've been playing it for 3 years. too. You know, I like that I can go, if I need to do keyboard stuff, I can go there. If I need to do slider stuff, I mean, it's pretty simple layout. You know, it's sliders and switches and some keypads. So it's a very, I like the limited palette, but it seems to have a lot of expressivity available to it.
Something like the interface that draws you.
Yeah, and especially the pressure. Being able to send that anywhere and everywhere. I mean, and that's not unique to this. I mean, you know, use your pressure points or whatever. Yes?
Does the sequencer go into the audio range? Can it go as fast?
It's being driven by the pulsar, so yeah, it gets up there. In fact, in one of these sections, I just ramped everything up. Let's see. That's the pulsar. That's the pulsar in audio range. So I mean, that's the sequencer, and I can. And of course, you can take random out of the pulsar and have it drive the pulsar. So in just one little thing, we have Las Vegas or something.
Could the keys actually then change the speed of the pulsar all the way up, or the speed of the sequencer all the way up?
Yeah, it could change the key. It could change the. Absolutely. I mean, I could. Let's see. Let's see. We've got that going. You can use the sequencer to change the pulsar. There's just a sequencer with everything down. That makes it easier to hear. That's the sequencer driving the pulsar. Here's just the pulsar, so different. You can dial in arrhythmic patterns that way. And answer the question?
I meant the actual touch plate.
The touch plate
You can
keyboards.
have that. I don't know.
Say what?
Pressure can go to pulsar, yes.
Pressure can go to pulsar, but that's just one key. Sure, I can do that. So we could take the main output of the keyboard. And go to there you go. Yeah, I'm still finding new things out about this every day. I am surprised. It's you know, I think Don Buchla's brain was definitely in the zone when he designed this. Some things that you can do really easily in Eurorack are very complex in this, and vice versa. You know, anything can become everything, and everything can become anything in modular land. This is just a different way of getting from A to B. Cool. Other questions, observations? Yeah.
How do you feel, since I assume you probably use both quite a bit, moving between the keyboard and was it the 223, the other
This one?
input device?
That one.
Yes, that one.
Mm-hmm. Actually, what I love about the 218, which is this keyboard here, is once again this matrix that I pointed out to you at the beginning. It makes programming it, you can do it on the fly. This keyboard is great and 10 times more complex, but it takes more programming time. And there's just tons of routing that's available. And it's turning little dials and putting numbers in little windows.
Roll your own.
Yes. And with a preset manager, then that becomes really doable. Because after all, I could spend like an hour programming this. I don't want to lose that. This is not so easy to program on the fly as this is. So I think of for me, the Buchla 200E system, which is the big one, and it can be as big as you want, I find more a studio instrument, whereas I find this a definitely performance instrument. That said, it can be used in the studio easily, and I have used the big ones in live performance too. But Joe could bring this on the subway, and as I said, I've never played this one before, so it's nice to know it translates.
Do you consider the music easel your main instrument now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, most recently I've been doing a lot in Tordite, and I'm being very drawn to that at the moment. But this is definitely the go-to wheelhouse. And Surge, that's what I cut my teeth on. My friend, as I say, Doug Levy, let me learn on this back in the 70s, and by 79 I had the bug. But you couldn't buy an easel for under $30,000, and there was only not many of them made back in the 70s. So Surge was called back then the poor man's bootleg, and he was working out of the Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco, and I was living in the Bay Area, so I had him build me a Surge, and that's what I worked on for like decades, and I still do. I mean, that's my other performance instrument, I would say. Yeah.
Could you talk about some of the reactions in the 70s to the easel? Was it just something that was just existing in unobtainium land and people just dreamed about it, or?
Yeah, it was unattainable. I mean, financially, Don and Alan Strange and his wife Pat and Steve Ruppenthal, who formed the Easel Weasel band, were, they had the market on the easels, and in the old easels, I also got to hang out for a few days with Alan Strange, and hang with his easel. And the old easels came in these big, huge, gunmetal cases that weighed 30 pounds or something, and they had a whole extra strip over here with these two giant battery electrodes. And Don and Alan and everybody would go into the mountains of California and drop acid and mushrooms and bring their car batteries, and then they had passive speakers that came out of some of you that have followed the easel thing, the original phone jack was actually for an auxiliary speaker. So you could just bring your car battery, easel, and a speaker and plug it straight into the easel and rock out for the weekend.
Don't forget the acid.
And the acid. And the mushrooms, yes. And so, when they were doing this the first round of easels, people would put their headphones on and go, what the heck? And it's like, oh, yeah, right, that was not a headphone jack. That was your speaker output. Just headphones on it. Yeah. So, yeah, they never were able to really take off financially. So, I think there's only, rumor has it there's like 13 to 15 left in existence at this point, and there was only less than 100 made.
Then he made like just 208s for systems.
He did. I don't know that he made a lot of 208s for systems. You could pop it into the 200 system, but he went past this pretty quickly.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think?
That he moved on from the music?
Because he's always wanting to create stuff. I mean, in a way, he never wants to look back. I mean, he didn't want to, he doesn't want to create the 200 system. He wanted, the 200E was his new system, and he just keeps looking ahead and going forward. Doesn't want to go back, and gets crotchety if you want him to.
So the easel being kind of unobtainable in the 70s, how does that compare to like the cultural response to just normal bookless systems, or like the 200 system or the 100 system?
You mean back then?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were. There were a lot of those in universities and colleges,
Okay.
all over the place. In fact, there's still a lot of them sitting around that, next time if I take a sabbatical, I'm going to go. Like San Jose State still has some. There's a Buffalo 100 up at the University of Victoria, and they're just sitting there in disrepair. I have a friend that's starting to study at San Francisco State, and asked him to go down to the bowels. I bet there's a booklet down there. Schools can't sell these things. It's like it's verboten to sell the stuff. I mean, I've never figured that out, but that's the deal. So they just hide them away and fall into disrepair, but they're there.